Hey everyone, and welcome to my free CCNA Cisco Certified Network Associate course. So before we start with our VLANs, STP configuration and understanding the basics of it, today is the last day that we will understand how to configure and verify the switch interfaces and do some basic management. So in today's video, what we're going to understand is how do we configure the switch interfaces, how do we enter the sub menu of the switch interface and configure a single interface and a range of interfaces. Then we are going to understand the aspect of the speed, duplex, how do we disable and enable an interface, how do we verify the status of that interface that we are configuring, and how do we interpret the status of that interface. What are the errors that we need to look out for and what do these errors mean? And in the end, we're going to understand how to tune the console logging and what do we need to do to tune that logging. So let's get into it. So before we get into the configurations of the switch, let's understand why do we need auto negotiation and what is speed and what is duplex settings. So we already know that interfaces come with various speeds, that is 10 Mbps, 100 Mbps and 1000 Mbps. There are different standards and each standard has a different rate at which they transmit data to the other side's NIC. So the modern switches come with speeds of 10 by 100 by 1000. That is, they are backward compatible with the old legacy 10 Mbps interfaces also. The reason for that is if a client is having an old NIC which can only support 10 Mbps, then the switch can communicate with that client and negotiate a speed of 10 Mbps on its interface. If the client is not that old but still old, which only supports fast Ethernet, then the switch can communicate with that client by that speed. And if the client is a modern NIC which supports all the standards up to 1000 M, then the switch will communicate with the highest available bandwidth, that is the 1000 M. The duplex settings depend again upon the wire and the capability of the client. Generally, the client will communicate at full duplex with the switch. The switches from box come with auto negotiation enabled. That is, they can negotiate both the speed and the duplex settings with the client so that you don't have to do much. But these settings can be done manually also. And it's not a bad idea to do it manually, but care has to be taken that a mistake should not happen. For example, if an auto negotiation device negotiates with the device which has a known auto negotiation enabled and is fixed upon a duplex and on the speed, then there can be chances of problems happening, that is, the link may not work properly if the other side is not able to negotiate on that duplex or speed. So let's see on the switch how we can set up speed and the duplex on the switch ports. So to enter the configuration of a particular interface, let's see what all interfaces are available in our switch. So to you do this, let's do show IP interface brief, and we get to know the IP addresses assigned to the switch, and we also get to know the interfaces that are available on the switch. Right now we know that we have connected one PC with gigabit Ethernet 00. So let's get into the configure terminal, and here let's go into the interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0. So here, first of all, by default in a switch all the interfaces are enabled, but in the routers these interfaces might be disabled. And to disable and enable an interface, we use the command shutdown, that is to shut down that interface, and will be popped up with the console log which says that gigabit Ethernet 0 has changed state to administratively down, and the line protocol on interface gigabit Ethernet 0 has changed state to down. To enable this interface, we use the command no shutdown. Again, we'll be popped up with two messages. That is, the first message is stating that the interface has now changed state to up and the line protocol has now changed state to up. So by default, the auto negotiation is enabled on the speed, and we can verify that by doing speed and doing a question mark and seeing what all options we have, and by doing 1000. So we are forcing this interface to work now on 1000 megabits per second, and we get an error message which says auto negotiation is enabled and speed cannot be set. To disable auto negotiation, what we need to do is no negotiate auto. So now the port will not auto negotiate, and we will have to give the speed and the duplex settings. So let's define the speed first. Speed set at 1000. This time the command was accepted, and a duplex, what we need to set is full. So what we have done now is we have disabled auto negotiation on this port, and we have forced the port to work only on 1000 Mbps at full duplex. And since we are in the configuration of this port, let's give it a description. That is, this port is connected to a PC. So this helps in identifying when we are doing a checkup of that port and when we want to display the configuration of that port. So to see the configuration what we have set and to verify it, we use the command show interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0, and here we see the complete configuration of that interface. What we see is that the description of the interface is connected to PC. So we also see that the port is set to full duplex 1000 Mbps. If we were to go into show interface gigabit 0/1, and we see that this port is set to auto duplex and auto speed, which means that the negotiation will happen automatically on port 01, but it will not happen automatically to port 00. So let's enter the configuration mode again, and if you want to set the same configuration setting to a range of interfaces, so for example in my case, if I want to set a configuration for interface ranging from gigabit Ethernet 2/0 to 2/2. So what I'm doing here is I'm defining the range, interface range gigabit 2/0 to 2/2, and whatever the configuration I do in this will reflect in all the interfaces. So I'm putting a common description, that is a range configuration for the interfaces. And if we go and check this interfaces now, show interface gigabit Ethernet 2/0, what we see is that the description here is a range configuration. For 2/1 is the same thing, range configuration, and it's the same for 2/2, that is the description is common range configuration. But if we see it for 2/3, there is no such configuration here because we just did it for range 2/0 to 2/2. So what we are defining is that we are defining a common configuration for a set of interfaces. To see the auto duplex changes, what we have done, and to see the current status of this interface, what we can also do is show interface status, and we'll be given a complete interface status. Plus we don't have to go and look at the complete configuration of the interface here. We get a snippet of what we have done, that is the description change, the duplex change that we have done on port 00 and on port 2/0 to 2/2. So we see that all the other ports are on auto negotiation with full duplex, but the port 0/0 is on full duplex, forced full duplex, and forced on speed 1000 Mbps. So when we were doing a show interface with a specific interface, we were getting this line common in all the ports, which stated that the gigabit Ethernet is either up or down, and line protocol is either up or down, and the port is either connected or not connected. So let's understand what all these statuses mean. So if the line status is administratively down and the protocol status is down, that means the interface is disabled. That means a shutdown command has been issued on that interface. So let's see this. Let's go into configuration terminal and interface gigabit Ethernet 2x3, and let's shut down this port. Let's exit the configuration terminal and let's see what has happened to the show command of that interface. So now the show command shows that the gigabit Ethernet is administratively down and the line protocol is down because the interface is disabled. If we go back and see up what was the status earlier, it just said that the Ethernet is down and line protocol is down because it is not connected. But here the status has changed to disabled. So if the line status is just down and protocol is just down, that means the interface is not connected, or there is a cable problem, or the neighbor device is shut down. But it definitely means that the port is not in shutdown state, the port is up, but there is some problem in the physical link between the devices. If the line status is up but the protocol status is down, that means the interface is not connected. This does not happen in physical interfaces of the switch, but it can happen in the virtual interfaces. There is another status which is line status is down and protocol status is down, in brackets ERR disabled, that is error disabled. This is something that we will understand later. In certain scenarios, the switch administratively shuts down the interface due to an error state, due to some problem, and these problems we will discuss later, but it's usually due to a problem in port security. And the last status is if the line status is up, the protocol status is up, that is the interface is connected, the interface is working, and everything is good. So in show interface command, we see a lot of statistics given at the bottom. The first one is runts. Runts means that the minimum frame size of 64 bytes has not been met. This includes your source and destination MAC address and other details. And this is usually caused due to collision. Collision happen, if you remember, when there is a hub present in the network. The next is giants. This is opposite of runt, when the frame size has exceeded the maximum allowed size, that is of 15-18 bytes, which includes your source and destination MAC address and other frame data. The next is input errors. So this input error includes everything of all the counters of runts, giant, CRC, and all the other input errors that have come while the packet was coming in. Collisions is a counter of the collisions that have happened on that interface, and this is usually when there is a direct connection to the hub taking place. So next is CRC. CRC is when a CRC check or the FCS math of the frame has failed, the counters will increase. Again, this is caused due to collision in the frame. And there is something known as late collisions also. So this is after the 64th byte of the frame has gone, the collision has occurred, and this is usually caused when there is a duplex error. That is, one side is half duplex and the other side is full duplex, but the switch shows that the connection is good, but you'll see an increase in late collisions happening, counters increasing, and this is the problem that will happen because of bad negotiation between the two devices or a misconfigured negotiation between the two devices, where one side has been configured as a half duplex and the other side has been configured as a full duplex. So in a switch, when we are doing configuration and when we disable or enable a particular interface, what usually happens is that we are interrupted by the lock command, and it just comes in between and we don't remember what is the last command that we were writing. So if we were in middle of some command, like in my case that I was writing a description right now and the no shut command was issued, so I do not know where my cursor really is, and this can be a problem. So if I go back and start deleting, I actually seems that I'm deleting the log command, but it is not the case. I'm actually deleting my own command that I was trying to issue, that was description. So to avoid this, what we can do is under line VTY, that is your telnet and SSH, and underline cons 0, which is your console, which I am on right now. What I can issue is a command which is logging synchronous. So logging synchronous, what it will do is it will not interrupt my usual commands. So now if I do a shutdown command on the interface and in side by side I'm writing a description for that interface, my log command came, but I was again redirected to the command that I was trying to enter earlier. So this is something useful that you can enable on your line VTY or line con 0 as per your requirement. Alternatively, if you do not want any of such commands to come on the screen while you're working, what you can issue is a global command which says no logging console. So here on the console, now there will be no logging. So if I go to an interface and disable it, that is shut it down, and enable it, I will not be shown any log information coming from the switch. So if you enable no logging console, that will completely disable all kind of logging on the console while you're working on it. So that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson. This was a quick lesson because from the next session we're going to start on VLANs, STP, RSTP, and other configurations of the switch, which are a little bit complex and not as straightforward as what we had been doing till now. So I hope that I see you again in that session. Let me know what you think about today's video. Please do subscribe to my channel, and if you like today's video, please do press the like button.